Yeah, Kirby, just I guess I'll ask the most obvious about the football team, the quarterbacks, and how you plan to manage that. Will they be live during the spring drills, and how do you anticipate breaking these guys down in terms of reps?
Well, we think we have three really good quarterbacks, and I'm really excited about all three of those guys to grow and get better. We will never, well, I won't say never, it's not right. I mean, we will not be live. We have not been live with our quarterbacks in the 7 years I've been here, so we will not be live with them unless we decide we need to. I do look forward to seeing, Carson and Brock getting a lot of that action. They'll both rep with the ones. Um, as far as how much, that'll play itself out over the course of spring. Gunner's come a long way. I'm excited to see what those guys can do. They've been excited about meeting and doing things with Coach Bobo and the offensive staff. So I'm excited to see those guys go practice and compete.
Kirby mentioning Coach Bobo. What gave you the confidence as far as promoting him to offensive coordinator, and what kind of changes specifically, like with verbiage, will the players have to deal with him being elevated?
There won't be much change in verbiage. If anything, there'll be some additions, maybe some slight wrinkles, but we feel like the verbiage for the kids works great. He's comfortable with the verbiage. He was in it last year with Coach Munkin. So really our entire offensive staff, you got to remember when Coach Munkin got here, some of that verbiage remained the same too. So it wasn't like it was a total transformation of language. And you got to think about a guy like maybe Dale McGee or Hartley who've been here pre-Munkin and now they're here post-Munkin. There's a lot of carryover because BMAC, Stacy, and Todd have all been in a room with Mike. Dale's known Mike for a long time. The decision was the continuity we have on offense. We want to keep that going, and I got a lot of confidence in Mike and the job he's done with offenses in the past.
Kirby on Carson and Brock. What do you see each of their strengths? It seems the general belief is Beck's got the stronger arm. Brock might be a little more athletic. Is that true?
I think it's hard to say who's got a strong arm. I think those two guys would argue about who has a stronger arm because I don't honestly know who has a stronger arm just from what we've seen in the past. You got to see those guys play in game action. I think they both got really good pocket presence. Brock is a really good athlete. Brock has added about 14 or 15 pounds of muscle. He wanted to get back to 215 out of his 203, 204 playing range. So he and Carson has lost a little weight from 220. So they're right at the same size. It's hard to say, the differences in those two. I don't think people give Carson enough credit for being a good athlete. He was a really good baseball player. He has great movement skills. He's not going to run as fast as Stetson. I think Brock is a good athlete that can see the field. Carson's probably played a little more. But both those guys are good. And look, I wouldn't count Gunner Stockton out of this thing because this kid's talented, smart. I got to see him on the scout team the entire year and really saw him grow. So, I mean, when Munkin left, I asked him about where he thought our quarterback room was. He was very adamant that we have three really talented young quarterbacks, and Mike inheriting that room certainly feels that way too. So I'm excited about those guys.
Kirby, with the two offensive tackles headed off to the NFL, one, where is Ernest Green at in his return from injury? And two, what are you excited about looking at that room and those guys that are competing for those positions?
Ernest is in a good spot. Thank goodness Ron had the foresight to have the surgery. I think it was October 10th, maybe, or sometime in October. He had the surgery in the thought that we would get him back for spring. Now, his conditioning level may not be exactly where we need it to be, but he's been working out with the team. He's been doing off-season workouts with the team. He's been able to do all the stuff we require him to do. So he'll go out there and compete. Marius Mims will be out there. Blasky will be out there. Monroe Freeling will be out there. Chad Limber. We'll have a lot of guys competing at tackle, but we have a pretty high bar for what the standard is at offensive tackle at Georgia. And those two guys last year played really well, and we'll have good competition this year.
Kirby, when did you know that you were going to promote Mike if and when Todd got an NFL job, and in what ways do you think Mike has adapted, evolved, changed since he was last Georgia's offensive coordinator?
When did I know that I would? I mean, I didn't think about it during the season. It never crossed my mind. I guess you always know you could lose a coach, but I was focused on the season, so I never thought well, if Monken leaves, that didn't cross my mind until probably around national championship games. You start thinking, okay, we're the only team playing. We're playing for the national championship. All my attention and focus is there. Immediately after the game, your thought is, okay, if I lose this guy, who am I hiring? I was very comfortable at that point that if we lost Todd and he decided to go back to the NFL, because that's the only thing I felt like he would leave for, that I would go with Mike, because I felt really comfortable, his leadership in the room. I asked Monken his opinion leaving, what he thought, and I thought it was important to keep that dynamic in the room set because we weren't losing multiple coaches. I think Mike has grown a lot since he went out to Colorado State from the time he spent here. I went against him at South Carolina. I went against him at Auburn, which gave me ultimate confidence that he would get this job done. We played them with probably the most talented defense that I've been a part of, and they went on a 16-play drive there at Auburn against us in the opening drive of the game, and just got a lot of confidence in his leadership skills and what he'll be able to do offensively.
I know Jalen Walker doesn't exclusively play outside linebacker, but with him and Marvin Jones both out for spring practice, where does that leave you guys at that position, and how important is it going to be to get those young players behind them some reps to get them up to speed?
It's probably the youngest position on the roster. I think we have 5 players in their first spring or their first year. So the 3 mid-years, CJ, I guess I'm counting maybe Darius Smith. So I'm counting those 5 guys, and that didn't even count Marvin. So there's 6 guys within that 1 year span. That's a really young position. Chaz is kind of like the old vet there now. So we'll see how it goes. Those young guys have looked good in workouts. When you talk about how our guys run around and how they move, there's a really good group of guys. But we'll need a lot of reps and work there to replace the Nolans and the Beals who've been there forever.
Coach, another quarterback question. In a perfect world, I guess, hope this doesn't come off as a hypothetical, but do you hope to see enough from all 3 of those guys at the end of spring practice, end of G-Day, to have an idea, maybe not so much a pecking order, but kind of where things stand, or do you think this competition will last well into fall practice?
It's definitely a hypothetical, Anthony. So what would I like? I like having a guy that started for a year or 2 years being your quarterback. We don't have that. So we have a competition. So we have to figure out who is going to perform the best in that competition, and that comes through scrimmages. We got, I think, 3 Saturday scrimmages, including G-Day. That'll go a long way to telling where they are, but that never's the total story, right? We got 2 spring practices before we play our first game, 26 or 28 practices in fall camp that'll tell a lot more.
Kirby, with the 3 transfer guys you guys brought in, what stood out about Rara, Dominic, and Smoke, and what you feel like they bring to this program?
I think their experience. I think when you talk about Dom and Rara, they're guys that have competed in our league. They've caught a lot of passes in our league. They've been very productive in our league, and it was a position that we were losing several players at, and we needed to be able to help our quarterbacks. Your quarterbacks need some weapons to throw to, and those guys do that. And then with Dayon, the guy that I've known a long time, since 9th grade, he's been coming up here to camp. We've known a lot about him, and we're looking forward to seeing him go compete in the secondary with a lot of open spots.
You sort of just touched on this a second ago, but Rara is going today and the rest of the spring. I want to confirm that.
So Rara's been cleared with the recent changes in his deal to participate with the team. He still has some ongoing things with campus that has to be cleared, but he's going to be cleared to be able to practice with us right now. Yeah.
Kirby, can you tell us a little bit about Austin Blaskey and Monroe Freeling? We don't see them as much, don't know much about them. And you mentioned those as 2 possible guys that could take over at that tackle spot. Can you tell us more about them?
Yeah, Monroe, I don't know if I can tell you a lot more about him. We've only, had him for, I guess, maybe 8 weeks or whatever it is, 6 weeks. He didn't come in early during bowl practice and practice with us, but he's really done well in workouts. He's extremely flexible. He's tough. He can run. He's got great length. He's added some weight, but I hadn't seen the guy play football, okay? So I can't go and say what he can and can't do. Now, Austin Blaskey has played a lot of football. He's worked at tackle. He worked while Warren McClendon was out there for a while. He got a lot of reps at tackle. He competes at tackle. He's really athletic. He can flip over and play at center. So I've seen him and know he's a very viable candidate to compete for one of the starting jobs. time for maybe 2 more questions. I think we got 2 in there.
Yeah, Coach.
That Tennessee game, Andrews was a little bit earlier than that. I think August, the last scrimmage maybe, or second to last scrimmage, he got injured, so he is not cleared, but he is on track. He's going to do individual drills. He's going to be able to go out and do all the competition outside of the 11-on-11. He won't be able to do 11-on-11 tackle drills, but we feel good about where he's going to be for fall camp and what he's going to be able to do. And I'll say this for Ron and his staff, this is the least number of guys we have out for medical reasons going into a spring that we've had in a while, and we also have 21 either mid-years or the 3 portal guys that'll be out there, not all of them practicing, but available to practice, so it definitely increases our depth.